Our health is our wealth. If we know the importance of putting the mask on ourselves before helping others, why some of us find it so difficult to prioritize ourselves on a day-to-day basis. Today, we have Marine Debatte K, our event extraordinaire, and Diane Ducarme from Gutify Health to talk to us about looking beyond the symptoms, but into the root cause when it comes to our well-being. So welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Elle. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Elle. Thank you, Marine. Very happy to be here as well.
Now, let's start with Marine. Tell us a little bit about your journey. As you know, in our business events industry, before COVID, we were on back-to-back projects. We travel all over the world, which is such a privilege. But, there are signs of burnout that sometimes we ignore. So what has been your experience?
Absolutely. Elle, I think, we've been thriving in this industry of service, of hospitality, of events management, where we really always put others first. It's our passion, it's our culture, our education. It sometimes comes even from religion or from, the way that you've been brought up by your peers. And definitely in our industry, it's something that we do on a daily basis. And so putting yourself first is difficult. And I've kind of struggled with that for a while. You're running definitely around the region, moving from a beach in Phuket to go to the mountains in Bhutan, and then the next day you're in New York, and so on and so forth. And so you're in this really whirlwind, and it's difficult to pause and to think about how you're doing. But the body has a way to actually ring the alarm and kind of remind you that you're a brain, but you also have a machine behind that needs to be taken care of. And for me, it was I knew something was wrong with myself shortly after I arrived in Singapore. And I looked through it. I went to see so many different doctors for probably about 5 years. And after a while, I really looked everywhere. I checked my teeth, my eyes, my spine, my, everything a woman could check. And so after a while, I was convinced that for me, it was migraine episodes, migraine attacks. And I was convinced that it was kind of a woman's territory. And so what I did to go through my day, my career, and everything that I had to achieve with my teams is just kind of hide the symptoms. You pop a pill, and then two, and then you take a stronger one. And then when you really can't take it, you just go home and cry. But at some point you just find stupid mechanisms, to be honest, but just the ones that are at your reach to cope with it. And so actually the person ringing the alarm bell was my husband and my best friend who brought me to a functional doctor, and then my husband who reached out to Diane early last year in January 2020. And so I embarked on this program with her, but really I was kind of convinced that this was my life and that was it. But, I trusted Diane, and so I went on board her program.
So Diane, a question to you. Is migraine a symptom to a root cause in this instance?
Yes, absolutely. To me, migraine is really a symptom. That's how I read it. So if you imagine two houses, one with a fire alarm and the other one without a fire alarm, migraine disease is a bit like having in your DNA, in your genetic predisposition, a fire alarm. And so that your house can both go on fire, but the one with a fire alarm, the one with migraine, will ring the bell before. And so that's what happens to Marine. And so I see lots of women that go through intense life and have that as a symptom. Underlying that symptom, we see some women having very stressful and demanding job, and so a very intense life. Or a lot of travel, some having IBS, other ones having mood up and down, other ones having PCOS or endo or hypothyroid. And all of those are the root causes, and the expression of the brain is going to be to have that migraine. However, that migraine is just a fire alarm for, asking for help. And so I was very glad in the case of Marine that, her husband came and found me and that I was able to help.
In our earlier conversation, you talked a little bit about burnout, the signs of burnout, and the pace of burning out. Sometimes, unexpectedly it gets to us when it becomes too much. So tell us a little bit why we should not ignore the telltale signs of burnout, and what are the signals to that?
So, there's many layers of burning out. Burning out is one word. There are many ways that we go through that, and many ways it manifests for us. I've studied at Harvard, and I was working in corporate as a GM before and at McKinsey. So I've burned that midnight oil, and so I have a massive empathy for the MICE industry and having to travel and, having jet lag, change of food, change of everything, and the life upside down in 3-dimension with different time zones. When I observe women, when we burn ourselves out, there's really, additional layers of burning out. And so if you don't stop at some point and put a firm stop to whatever is causing that burnout, your body at some point on its own terms decide to stop. Sometimes women will say, but I don't have the time for this, or I have to do this or that. But then suddenly the body shuts. And then at that time, that woman needs to take a month off, a year off. It can be, for example, a burnout that looks like a woman who is dizzy when she's standing up and she's just not seeing clear. She's very sensitive to light. She's sensitive to the light of her screen. She's struggling to focus and to concentrate. She has brain fog, and those come and go, and she's powering through. And at some point, because that eye and that vision is not as good, she is very prone to having a concussion. Then that woman is suddenly hit by something, and her reaction speed is much slower. And so what is really important is that when a woman feels such things, that she tries to hear the symptom and really try to get to the root cause and find her answers. But never let anyone tell you that what you have does not exist. Never let anyone convince you that what you have, you don't have, and that you think you have, but you don't. So many women who have, for example, in this case, migraines, will go to the doctor and ultimately are recommended depression medication when they know they're not necessarily depressed. And even though always follow your GP guidelines and have these conversations, it is okay to say, I am not depressed, and I know I'm not depressed, and I thank you for your work, but I would like to get to the bottom and to the root cause of why I'm suffering and why I'm in pain. So yes, please always trust your body. Your body is trying to communicate with you. We teach maths at school, and we teach sport, and we teach English, but we never teach how to communicate with your own self, with your body. And it's through all of these symptoms, the body is trying to express a need for help.
I know that food plays a very important part in our well-being, whether it's rebuilding our health or whatever it does to our body. But I think earlier we had a conversation whereby you said that generally people trust what they read on the internet too easily and go extreme with certain food items or ingredients. Share with us, what are some of your thoughts?
Yes, so absolutely, Elle. Some of foods go in fashion, just like we like pop stars, we like food and they suddenly go in fashion. So if we talk about turmeric for a moment, turmeric's an amazing food and it makes wonders and it deserves its amazing reputation. It's a great anti-cancer. Turmeric will also relieve a woman from migraines if she has certain conditions. But for another woman, it may accentuate her migraines. She will know instantly. For a third type of woman, it might induce a miscarriage because turmeric has the power in traditional Chinese medicine to clean blood from impurities. And when you're freshly pregnant, it's the last thing to do. And so being very mindful of, is that food right for me now at this moment in my life? It's really important to look at that with a lot of discernment and being able to tell what is right for you. Back to Marine's earlier point, trust your body. If the food doesn't agree with you, it just doesn't. Your body's the boss.
What I find amazing is the treatment that you do, because many a times when it comes to, okay, let's investigate about health, immediately, even for me, I was thinking, oh my God, it could be multiple blood tests that takes time, seeing different specialists. And now that, particularly when we are in certain lockdowns, that you don't have access to the hospitals or specialists. So it sounds like a drawn out process. And that's why people start Googling for solutions. What I find incredibly moving in your relationship with Marine is the fact that Marine is based in France. You are in New Zealand, I'm in Singapore. And that's the care that you provide can be virtual. So talk us through how you do that. I know by a show of tongue, sorry guys, that you can tell where we are. Obviously there is more in-depth analysis to that, so talk us through a little bit about that journey and this wonderful technology that you have.
Yes, so the idea was to develop a food as medicine AI. I love food, and I think if we can all find our ways in our health through food, then we have a better planet, a better biodiversity for our microbiome and for the environment, and the two go together. It is possible indeed to, if a woman can listen to her symptoms and we ask her about 80 questions, that those 80 questions together with her tongue image, and the tongue is linked to the vagus nerve, which is linked to the brain and the main organs, and therefore can really give us very precious information that will usually go very much hand in hand and confirm a diagnostic through 80 questions. So for example, if a woman has inflammation on the liver and her liver is very inflamed, while that inflammation can cause, again, if she has the genetic predisposition, a migraine and an inflammation in the brain, on the way it's going to mark the tongue. If she has very weak gastric juices and forehead migraines, that inability of the gastric juices to be produced will mark themselves on the tongue. And so it helps us assess the severity of the condition. So for example, in the case of Marine, Marine was very upbeat and very good personality, and she was having extreme imbalances. She bounced back within 6 weeks, don't get me wrong, but she was in a way worse condition than I had thought she was, because we put ourselves first, we put ourselves the best of us. She's extremely professional and always appears so perfect. And so you sometimes can underestimate the level of imbalances in the body. And so the tongue really helps that. It is true, Elle, that I'm working with women throughout the world on literally all 5 continents in about 30 cities. And I was just before this call with a woman in Puerto Rico, and she was telling me, and it's her daughter who brought her to me, and she was telling me, I'm suffering, my life is pointless. I just want 1 month of love and of birthdays and of cuddles with my family, and that would, for me, could end my life and I'd be happy. I just asked for that. Is that too much to ask? And I shared with her my purpose to help women like her. And I said, I'm doing this with you, and I'm keen to support her. The emotional connection I see Marine be able to have with women who share that, it's just so strong. And that's why, trust your instinct, trust your body, and then talk to, get connected, get into this MICE community through being connect to each other, help one another. It's so important, the care that your husband had for you, the care that your friend had for you, the care that daughter has when she brings her mom.
And emotional support is for me, it's a massive, key to success in anything, to be honest. But I must say that in the medical world, it is something that is not taught. And one of the pillars of what Diane does is that support, and having somebody having your back and saying, I'm with you on this. I saw that you had a bad day. What can I do? Or, try this, let's do this. Let me know how you feel tomorrow morning, and so on and so forth. It's so precious. After I finished the program, I just couldn't believe that it worked so well. And I told Diane, I say, I'll help you in any way I can. I'll do just anything, because what you've given me, my life back, it opened so much possibilities for me. And it came at a time, it was February 2020, where the rest of my life was just crumbling down. We talked about it together last summer when I left Singapore. And it was one of the most stressful time in my life. I lost my job, my team, the company that I brought up was kind of shattered. And but despite this, my head was clear, and that was just amazing. Thinking I could go through this stress and this hardship with a clear head, a clear mind, and a clean body. That was just about. And I'm still holding on to it. And hopefully then that's a habit that you create, and then you put this habit into your life. You look at the health of your parents and friends and even kids in a different way, and you learn to put yourself first and say, well, my rituals now, it's like preparing my decoction for the next morning, and it's just become a habit, just like you would put bread on the table. Now it's just, I'm just gonna have that because that is what I do today to help myself, and that's what I do in the morning to put myself first. And that is priceless. And that's a big learning, when she asked these 80 questions, first a bit overwhelming. You're like, I don't know. I never asked these questions about my body. Nobody even asked these questions about my body. I didn't notice that, but you kind of win that awareness about your body as a whole and these little signals coming in and out. And it's an amazing awareness and learning for me as well.
Diane, can I ask, what are some other advice that you have when it comes to us faring better in our well-being, besides the food?
Besides the food. So there's a few very simple tricks, like not everything needs to be neither fancy nor expensive. We have we're a very old species, and so there's still a lot of old tricks that work really well. I have oftentimes women that will wake up at 3 a.m. and they wake up and then they're like, woof, and they can't fall back asleep, for a solid time, if not 2 hours, or if at all. If that happens to you specifically at 3 a.m., this is usually the sign of a liver quite being intoxicated. The liver can be intoxicated for many reasons. It doesn't mean you don't eat organic or you don't eat well. It can be that your liver hasn't been working a lot recently. A very simple way to address that is to put a warm bottle on your tummy, just like an old grandma. And it doesn't look very sexy, but that's going to get you sleeping through the night. And then you can go to your event and, get and power through the day with your usual, power and special kick. A second advice can be hydrate your body before you hydrate your skin. Like, we all want to look great, and so we wake up in the morning and we wash our face, and then we put our toner and serum and moisturizing, and we do all of that amazing routine, which is important. It's important to look great. Something that is terribly, immensely effective is before opening the curtain, have a glass of hot water, warm water, or a decoction. And that massively helps to really hydrate with the depth of your body. All of that water is just going to transform into noble liquids that are going to hydrate all of your organs. The third one I would have is we talk a lot about stress and the impact of stress on the body, and we talk a lot about meditation. And I want to take a moment to break down meditation. There's the mental state of meditation, which can be really hard to achieve, especially if you're about to deliver on an event or deliver a presentation. However, there's the breathing part of it, which is really interesting. And so when you breathe massively, like a massive amount of oxygen, and you release it, you actually have your diaphragm move. And when the diaphragm moves, it massages your liver. And that's what gets it detoxed. And it's really, really important. So think of the diaphragm of breathing like a pump. That's the pump that exercises all of your core. And so doing that will really release the stress and wash away the toxins, and so protect the integrity in the main organs, protect you from real problems. So really, if you can't find the mental space to focus, to meditate, just breathe. And the fourth one is balance out your emotion. If it's been a really stressful day or a day full of sadness and anxiety, just watch, a quick TV series that is like energizing, or it can be like, just a funny episode of 2 minutes. But just try to balance out the emotion. Even having an angry feeling after a very sad day is something positive.
I love it. And I particularly, what resonates with me is point number 3 when it comes to mindfulness and that deep breathing. Because initially, I'm back in school now studying positive psychology, and one of our module is on mindfulness. So what I absolutely love from when I learned from my lecturer, Deborah, we don't really have to label it as meditation, because in the past, when I hear the word meditation, I run away because I'm so A-type and I can't zen my mind, and I just feel that I can't do it. 1 minute will feel too long. And so what the way she broke it down for me, when I find it so useful, was the fact that she said, you know, Elle, 1 minute actually equates to 10 to 12 deep breaths. And when we approach deep breathing, is really, of course, we're going to be distracted by a noise, by our phone going off, or we might be thinking about what we want to do next or eat next. It is okay. So we have to approach that from a non-judgmental approach that say, acknowledge it. Yes, my mind drifted off. It is okay to come back and just focus on the breathing. So if we can get to 12 breathing, the first one we might struggle when we come into ourselves, but the 12th breath might be a lot easier. And then from there, we can really take it on to see whether we want to do another 12. If we don't have to dedicate 20 minutes a day to do it, we can do it in minute spurts between tasks and things like that. So, and I really love that, because it really addresses my fear about being still. Perhaps, I don't know why there is fear associated with being still. Perhaps I don't value stillness as much as being busy. But I find that approach, what I learned from my lecturer, Deborah, really, really helped me and helped me to embrace, so that I can really have certain moments of calmness when I feel that things are getting out of hand. And it is true, in our event management world, sometimes, or many a times, our day is not ours. It belongs to the customers.
Absolutely.
We are expected to be reactive, to be on standby, but it doesn't mean that we can't take a minute. Just like the way we will need to go to the bathroom, right? It takes longer than a minute to go to the bathroom. To have that, allocate that little break so that we can align ourselves, coming back to the balance that you talk about, Diane, about emotions, and help us better with managing certain response that may not be as timely. So obviously we've been through quite a bit throughout COVID. Some of us have, actually a lot of us have lost stamina in terms of doing the hours that we used to do. Many are actually considering quitting what they do because the stress is just so unbearable. So how do you balance that, Diane? Do we all have to quit our jobs even though we have bills to pay?
If you love your job, you should just continue your passion. Stress is something that we are on the receiving end of. So we receive stress from physical factors, from emotional factors, from work. And our body should have the ability to balance and to take on a certain load of stress. And so if work has always been, and MICE in particular, has always been your happy place, keep it that way. What you need to do is make your body a stronger fortress so that you're able to cope with more stress. Some women that have migraines, for example, they will push away triggers. So we'll say, I can't have alcohol anymore, I can't have chocolate, I can't have cheese, I can't have my favorite job anymore because it's also a cause of stress. And no, you need to live. That's the reality. You're here to live, you're here to accomplish your purpose and be the person you want to be. You need to want to achieve, you need to be able to achieve the small and the large things you want to achieve in life. And so instead of putting a cross on something that you love, on your loving job, consider reinforcing your kidney. And to do that through food, you can consider all of the very small and very potent food. So think very small and very nutritious. For example, goji berries, black sesame, walnuts, pine nuts, raspberries, blueberries, mulberries, all of these very small foods that have a lot of concentration of nutrients. Those are great for kidney system. And then lots of breathing. And with those two, make your body stronger and, go back to your work. We all look forward to going out, celebrating. And so we all count on you to have a 2022 that will be glorious of, champagne parties and celebrations.
I totally agree with you. I think to be able to manage stress is to make sure that we first take care of ourselves, our body, our mental well-being, our physical well-being, eating the right food, having the right sense of balance. And I think that built towards resilience and to give us the boost that we need in managing difficult situations. So,
and it's a conscious effort. To me, it's because we're so rooted doing things for others, and it's like, okay, I make the decision and I take the step to put myself first to be better, to help others after, right? But it's like what you were using as an analogy when you started and introduced the session. It's about, putting the oxygen mask first on your kid and then on yourself. It's very difficult to fight against that, because you will definitely, your first reaction will be to do that for others. But you can't do that if you passed out. It's reason, right? So it's like fighting this and saying, I'm putting myself first. Put yourself first.
Totally.